Hey, what's up everybody? Boys and girls, we have to unpack a good one today. I don't even really know how to wrap my brain around everything, but I kind of wanted to make an overview of everything at the ICF, but this one, it just deserves its own video. And what we gonna have to talk about is, how can you guys support my videos? There's like buttons, there's subscription buttons, there's even a product you could buy if you really want to support me, but you know the rest. But what I'm really need to unpack here is this long distance race from the ICF this past weekend. And it begs the question, it begs the larger question here. And this is just one of the many layers we're going to have to peel back here. Is we're having a world championship. We want to make it all inclusive for everybody coming from all sorts of paddling backgrounds, but we cannot control the conditions that it's in. We are looking at conditions. Let's talk about conditions. What are the conditions that these paddlers found? Well, the conditions were crazy. I mean, for a flat water paddler, for somebody that's on a lake, it's unbearable. It's unbelievable difficult. I mean, the whole ocean looked like a turned up potato field. Waves were coming from all sorts of directions. There were longer bombs coming from one side. There were little wind chops from one side. There seemed to be a little bit of a refraction from a harbor mole or from a breakwater there. So it was just like all over the place. And we saw how the pros were handling it. And if this would have been a world championship that only included pros, we would not have this conversation right now. We would not need to talk about the conditions and the turnout of everything, because everything would have been just fine. But we want to be an all-inclusive sport. We want to bring in the kids. We want to bring in the inflatables. We want to bring in the mom and the dad from the lake and the hobby paddlers. And they all work really hard to try to go there and make a good results. 40 and 50 plus. Very competitive division. And for the kids too. So now we are facing this dilemma. We are in an ocean, that's where SUP mainly takes place, and we are finding these conditions. And not everybody is suitable for these conditions. So this is a really a conundrum. You see the pros doing buoy turns, no problem, they're paddling away. It's an ocean sport, that's what you do. And SUP became also a flat water sport. And the majority of the people that came into SUP were not ocean paddlers, they are flat water paddlers. So what are we going to do? And I'm just asking questions here. I'm glad I'm not having to make those decisions. So yes, of course, we can just have only flat water venues and only really paddle when it's like just like a mirror, you know, the water and everything is super flat, no worries, you know, or we can all just go paddle on simulators and not even paddle on water. And then we really have all the unpredictable parts out of the equation. But that's of course also a philosophical question. Do we really want this? Is it more exciting the one way or the other? We're talking last week from the sprint races over at the Eurosub with the beach starts. At this race, we had water starts inside a harbor without the waves. What do you like better? What is easier? What do the spectators want? Because after all, we also want to sell the sport to a broader audience. So this is really a difficult question to ask. And of course, I understand all the people that came from Germany, Switzerland, landlocked countries, Austria. They don't know how to paddle in these things. I mean, you see how the people are out in the water, swimming, kneeling back, paddling back. There's even a board floating around by itself. So many people did not even start. I mean, like, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm like looking at the results. I'm like, what the heck was going on here? You know? So now we know half of the people cannot paddle in these kind of conditions. So is SUP now an ocean sport or is it a flat water sport? What is it that we want to make it? I'd say, you know, I really don't know what to say, because it's a hard one. It's a hard one, you know. It's kind of like surfing. Think about surfing. So now we have wave pools, and we'll see a lot of people learning how to surf in wave pools, standing waves, and they're going to be super specialized surfers. And now surfing, but still is an ocean sport, and they're having Olympics in like expert waves, and at some point surfing should be an all-inclusive sport, and now you're having it at venues that are way over the head of people that are coming from wave pools and standing waves. So are they to be included or are they not to be included? What is spectator friendly? So you see, guys, how this is not easy, how this is not an easy question. I think if you make a world championship that really includes everybody, I would say you kind of have to cater to the lowest level. So you cannot make it all inclusive and then cater only to the top, say 150. Then you really have to dumb it down and make it as easy so the mom and pop can still paddle. If you want that, the question is, how interesting is this going to be? Is this kind of like what SUP's going to be? We include everybody and we have 500 participants and that's the World Championship? Or is the World Championship something that is going to filter its way out through a world tour, and then at the end it really only showcases the best? Conditions don't matter that much. Sometimes the gnarlier the conditions, maybe even better because it makes for better TV. Ask yourself that. What is it that we are going to do with the sport? As of right now, the sport goes into all sorts of directions. The sport goes into the pro-only direction with the APP. We see where that's going, where the participation rate is there. We have the Euro surf with the waves and the sprint and the low tide and the high tide. Well, that didn't make everybody happy. Not everybody knew how to paddle in that. Then we have the ICF there with now that long distance race on its hands, where half of the people were extremely unhappy and the other half of the people go like, hey, that's what I paddle in, you know? So this is a question for organizers, again, boiling it down to, if we cater to everybody coming out of every corner in the world, then we have to have it in conditions that cater to all of these people. Because that's what it is. If it's made for the broader mass and not for the pros, then we have to cater to the broader mass, and the pros are just coming in and swooping in for titles and prize money. Or making it only for the pros, well, then we're going to have it in conditions that are not suitable for the amateur. But I don't think we're going to be able to have both unless we say, hey, SUP's going to be a flat water sport, it's going to be lane racing only, it's going to be flat water only, and every time somebody paddled or a group paddled, we're going to wait for the water to completely even itself out again, and then the next people go. So we have no waves, no conditions that are kind of bothersome to everybody, to anybody, so nobody can complain at the end of the day. And those are my 5 cents.